because as I said earlier, of course, there's this, I mean, first of all, the knowledge, I'm not saying, when I say about content delivery and when I say knowledge as a mode, is dead. What I'm not saying is that we don't need to teach students new information. What I'm saying is, if we think that this will be the knowledge creation or the knowledge generation will be enough for us to compete, this is the idea of this very same thing is the one that died. Definitely, we have to cultivate in the students. We have to move from providing we have to really focus on the transformation of the students in our educational system. So for me, it's really about their mindset, as you're saying. It's about those qualitative characteristics that makes us, human. It's also about helping the students through this identity shift. We've all been there. We've all done that. When you go to university, it's mostly about the experience. It's mostly about this maturity. So allowing the students this shift in their identity, and those two things are very difficult to automate. I don't think this, and I'm purely talking from a quantitative standpoint. Today, I don't know in 5 years or in 10 years where we will be, but those things are very difficult to automate in a system. So absolutely, we have to be focusing on this. Absolutely.
So imagine we have a company that approaches you, and maybe it's a math, soil chemistry related company, and they are asking for your advice. What should be those barriers of entry, competitive advantage that you would recommend them doubling down on?
Absolutely integrate artificial intelligence in everything they're doing. The question is, what's going to, the velocity of learning will become key for me. And those companies that are faster to learn and faster to adapt, because sometimes they're not the same thing, so are the ones that will win. So for me, jumping on those new technology, integrating them into the system, creating more an ecosystem, are the one that will allow those companies to survive. And the faster they can do this, the better.
But this is not what organizations are created for so far. I mean, they are created to maintain, perfect the status quo, right? Not to systematically challenge. And the objectives are, measurable. They're clear. Now we are in a moment in which the depth and the sheer speed of these transformation forces us to develop new organizational structures or hierarchies that allow for these massive speed. But how do we do that? I mean, how do you create an operating system that is optimized for the speed of adaptation?
That's a difficult question, but I think that sometimes, I think the big question is it's not in the, first of all, it's a cultural thing. I think that all companies need to start working on the culture thing, because you can have the most sophisticated infrastructure to allow you the integration, but if people resist to the adoption and the adaptation to this, it's as if you've really done nothing. So for me, the conversation, the communication, the very essence of what we're doing here, to show people, to demonstrate, through simulations, the capability of having a system that is run, with humans and with artificial intelligence are key to the success of every country. And that's why FOI, I think that in the future, we're going to see a huge increase in the number of startups and the number of ventures. Why this is, we're seeing them flourishing nowadays, because of this, their high capability of learning and adapting much faster than a well-established organization.
I'm sorry, please.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I have a very interesting example that describes how, when you try to leverage, for example, Claude capabilities within Excel, which is possible now via an API, you're to some extent limited to what is possible within Excel.
Absolutely.
When you take that Excel within Claude, then you're no longer limited. And I think that is a really good metaphor to describe why startups might thrive. they do not need to
100%.
adapt to pre-existing frameworks or limitations. They can just explore foundationally, not as a magic powder, an AI that you put on as a topping on top of your cake, but as something really foundational. I understand that it is a really good moment as well for startups.
Absolutely.
I don't know if they're going to have any other chance anyways, but I do think I do celebrate that here at IE we develop that quite a lot.
Absolutely. And this is where I think actually IE has a big role to play. I think IE could become, the mode of IE could become our capability to simulate real life, through projects, through labs, through, real life situation, our capability, our agility in adaptation, and is the one that would allow us to somehow have a competitive advantage.
2022 in November, ChatGPT 3.5 appeared. And so that's over 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And we still see people that are waiting for the guidelines to be clear, waiting for the correct indication for the pairing of the purpose and the specific tool and the process. What would you tell those people?
I mean, it's long over. I mean, the wait is the future. I think. Well, let me answer this by give you another example. People are currently afraid that AI, will take their jobs, and I think this is what this is why people are kind of waiting, because they're afraid to really ask themselves the question: what is my real value? What is the value that I bring to an institution? So if you think that. And that's why they're scared. They resist the change because they're afraid of stepping outside their comfort zone, and they're really afraid of asking themselves, what is the value that I'm bringing? We all, 10 years or 15 years ago, when I used to go to class, my students relied on me, on my notes, on the papers that I shared with them to get the knowledge. If I still think that my value is in this, AI should replace me.
Right.
Should replace me. So for me, it's the future will belong. It's not that the AI will take your job. It's the future will belong to those people who are, they learn fast and they work with AI, and not, AI totally replacing them. So for me, it's happening. The faster you accept it, the faster you start learning. Because this is, for me, AI is not just a tool. For me, AI has tremendously increased my capability of working by using that tool. Of course, it does not replace your work, but it allows you this augmented thinking, this deep dive knowledge into something that, to be able to do it earlier on, you had to rely on traditional institutions. So if I want to learn, let's assume, about music or the history of music, 20, 50 years ago, where would you get that? You would do a master, you would do an online course, you would seek those institutions for that. Now you can learn it, with just having a conversation and asking the right question to those assistant AI that you have at your disposal.
Fascinating. And now, 4 weeks ago, Peter Steinberg from Austria, a researcher, came up with a new technology. Actually, it's a scaffolding of previous technologies. OpenClaw that is creating yet a new tsunami that is comparable. Some people compare it to HTML, or some people compare it, to ChatGPT 3.5. We are already in one of those transition phase moment with agentic AI. How does that change things for businesses? It's a very broad question. Let's see if you can land it a little bit.
So for me, the changes. We've talked a lot about what mode is dying, what are the new skills. But I think that the one thing that I did not mention we did not kind of discussed is this building of ecosystems, this interdisciplinary approach to new things, new partnerships. I think the model will have to shift towards. Combining tech, people, definitely ethics. We haven't even touched on this whole governance and issues that or not issues. I don't see issues. I always see opportunities to leverage on this new tool. So for me, shifting towards ecosystems in which you integrate all of these components is the key to move forward for new businesses. Um, um, Definitely, and of course in teaching also the students, I think the future will become to the schools that will kind of be visionary and try to anticipate where the future of work is heading, and to train their students in multidisciplinary approach to problem solving. This is where I see the biggest a challenge and the biggest opportunity.
Right, fascinating. So now let's try to bring it. I mean, we've talked already quite a lot about the business of education, but
Yes.
I'm going to ask you very specifically, what do you think we should stop doing at IE? What moat, competitive advantage, barrier of entry we should stop heavily relying on? You talked about the generation of content, maybe the acquisition of knowledge might change or evolve. Can you think of any other thing that definitely we should stop doing?
What should we stop doing? I think, I mean, for me, besides the content delivery and the heavy, like the content generation, I think we're doing things pretty well. In the sense that we give a lot of emphasis on teamwork. You know, we teach our students. It will. I mean, it will no longer be what the students learn. It will be at what pace, in what circumstances, with whom the students should learn. So for me, I think we need probably not stop doing, but maybe increase, if that's even possible, the reliance on projects, labs, simulations, and this I think is something that we're really good at, but I think that we can even get better. Our capability to create ecosystems, particularly for our students, where we bring together people from the industry, people like the investigators that do research, and put the students at the center of that teaching, of that learning. I think this is something that we're doing it. All of the schools are doing it, but I think if we can expand it and make it more fundamental and integrate it more in our teaching, that could be a game changer. And of course, I don't think this is something that is only specific for IE, but this is something that is more general to all academic institution. How do you measure students' learning? For me, and I don't have a clear answer to that. And if you ask me why is that, because all of the academic institutions, they still rely on legal agency to give legal framework to their degrees. So you can be the most innovative institution possible, but if the legal ecosystem that surrounds you and that gives credibility to your program does not change as fast, you're gonna stay behind if you understand what I'm saying.
By all means, yes.
So that's a true limitation. That's why I think that it's a great moment to really ask, not only from the institutional standpoint or from the business of education, also from the legal framework, where is the world heading, and how we need to change our systems in order to cope with it. But back to IE, I think if we're able to start having alternatives, or start asking ourselves the question, how do we measure student knowledge? Particularly when I started my statement with knowledge has died, I think we really have to think about it. How do we measure the skills that the students are learning? Do we still have to rely on examination, which is at the end of the day most of our examination, and that's particularly an issue for me because most of the programs that we have, all of the programs that we have, are highly quantitative, and we're still relying on measuring the knowledge of the student. So I don't have the answer, but that's something that definitely we'll have to ask ourselves.
One of the things that I extract from what you're suggesting is this idea of revisiting the certification altogether. And we were entertaining this idea with a concept, with a North Star that we describe as a zero distance learning, the idea of collapsing the distance between the meeting room and the classroom.
Yeah.
I think we have, there's many barriers of entry there, like the NDAs and all of those limitations. But I think if we come up with a system to perfect that connection, we will probably make sure that the perceived risk of the employers to onboard students, candidates from IE would lower. And we see that there is a growing decoupling of, or growing a lowering perception of value on the certification itself. The market is saying that, the students are saying that, and also the employers are saying that. So I would say that independently of the pace at which we can change legislation, maybe it will be worth exploring some alternative formats to these
100%.
micro-certification and these...
100%. I can't agree with you more, because for me, the only way for you to start competing, because we're seeing this, we're seeing it with our students who are applying for jobs, and we're seeing it also with the, with the industries and the enterprises. They no longer ask you about your degree, they ask you about a set of skills. And that skills differ depending on your background. So for us, in the current situation, I mean, we cannot really remain, our hand tied. And if I can't change the system, I'm not going to change my education. Absolutely not. I think, we should be looking for ways, and there are a number of ways in which we can give the students the knowledge that they want in a specific field of their choice, but also help them build the set of skills that we think will help them get the jobs to the future, or will prepare them to the future of work. I can't agree with you more. And I think that at IE, I know